So we're very bullish on AI, but we're not bullish currently on exactly where we're supposed to be and how to play it aggressively. And frankly, we're looking now for AI applications that might not have been recognized yet.
Hi stock investors, JJ here, welcome back. Well, today we're going to get into Stan Druckenmiller's current thoughts on AI investing and Nvidia specifically. Big bet he had on that. This is from the In Good Company podcast, a great long podcast. Going to link to it in the description if you want to see the whole thing. I've just picked specific things out about AI and Nvidia, and I'm going to react to them. So let's get into it.
You never had a down year?
No.
It's important to know that he's had a long career, many decades, over 4 decades. He's never had a negative return. That's why he is a super investor, a legendary investor.
No good reason. I think it's important because other people talk about it, and my investors loved it when I had investors because, they have this stuff in our industries, called risk-weighted return. I'm not big on that, but I will say it's a stressful job, and there's less stress if you don't have big drawdowns. I have had significant drawdowns in a year, so part of the down year is just luck.
So how do you think the tech sector will develop? What kind of signs are you seeing there?
The AI boom is going unabated, Nikolai. I think the private sector just sees it as an existential threat to their business if they don't spend money on it, because if they don't spend money on it and their competitors do, and their competitors are right, they're going to have a big competitive problem. And of course, the hyperscalers, they're all in, and their demand is just continuing. So look, you've got very rich prices in the tech sector. Stuff like Apple selling 25 or 30 times earnings. It's certainly not growing at 25 or 30%. But
interesting to note that Warren Buffett, Berkshire Hathaway, has been selling down Apple stock pretty much all year or the past couple of quarters. They were pretty overweight. They've still got a lot, but they have been selling Apple. He mentioned how tech sector in the US is expensive. He does think that.
We don't have that much exposure to the tech sector, and we're not short it, so I'm not really involved because...
But you were very early into it.
Yeah. Honestly, I've got young, really good analysts here.
He's talking about Nvidia specifically here, being into it early.
Yeah, but a lot of people have a lot of young analysts.
Who are on top of things, and they started... we noticed about 3 or 4 years ago that the kids that go to Stanford and MIT, the engineers were shifting from crypto to AI. That was the first sign. Then my young partners started talking more and more about AI. I asked them how to play it. They mentioned a company called Nvidia, which I thought was a gaming company I hadn't done work on in a long time. I bought a pretty good chunk of it, and then like a month later, ChatGPT happened. It was just total luck. I had no idea ChatGPT, but the AI drum around here was big enough, and the stock was down, I think, from 400 to 150 or something. So that's how I got started in it.
He is being a little bit modest here. He makes out like it's a bit of luck, and he had young analysts working on it. But he has studied the sector for a long time. He said he hadn't done much work on it lately, but he has been in it for a long time, studied it for a long time, semiconductors. He does go back away. It's not that he doesn't know anything about technology. He does, and he's just being a little bit modest here, I think.
Once we invest in something like that, then we really start to dig deeper, and then there was a whole chain of things. We knew it would affect power, we knew it would affect uranium. We just went through the whole chain, and it was a pretty easy trend to spot. Not unlike the cloud was. These things come in waves. But AI, the question with AI now that I'm wrestling with, and the reason our exposure is really neither long nor short, is how to play it, because we started with picks and shovels.
I think everybody's wrestling with that, how to play AI now. That prices have gone way up, and where's it going to go next? Where maybe the next wave of companies, apps, whatever it is, robots with AI in them is something that I've been thinking about lately.
Which is Nvidia, and to some extent Microsoft. But now we're seeing just massive amounts of capital being spent by these modelers. And
Huge amounts.
if AI is for real, and I think it is, they're all going to give you the same answers. So we're going to have 4 or 5 companies who have spent massive amounts of capital, but I don't see it as a winner-take-all model. On the other hand, I think there are applications that I haven't even thought of, and nobody's thought of, they're going to spring up. I mean, who would have thought of Uber or Facebook when the internet started? So we're very bullish on AI, but we're not bullish currently on exactly where we're supposed to be and how to play it aggressively. Not unlike the internet in 2000.
Yeah, he's going to talk about the internet bubble there, how this could be similar going into a bubble. He does think this is a bubble, I think. He mentioned the huge capex from these companies like Google and Microsoft, spending really hundreds of billions of dollars they're going to be spending on these AI data centers. And he's saying that the AIs are going to produce the same answer. He's talking about the large language models. So somewhat commoditized, it remains to be seen where it will pay off for these companies and when. Will it be the roller coaster of down and then up and it will pay off later? But where the next group of companies, the apps, whatever, he doesn't know. But he does have experience in the dot-com bubble. He lost money and he gained money. As he said, he's never had a down year, a negative return. So he did lose a lot of money, but gained it back pretty quickly. And he had a story about this in the interview, but we're not going to get into that today.
You could have believed in the internet, not been exposed, and then got your exposure on a more timely basis. Or I could just be wrong, which wouldn't be that unusual.
But you actually act on your intuition or the data that's in front of you.
I do, but it's not all brilliance. I bought Nvidia very well, but I sold it at 800 or 900 right when the party was really getting going, and I sold my Lily in the high 700s. Granted, had a nice profit, but yeah, I look for big trends. I'm not a Buffett guy that holds for 20 years, but I look for 2 to 4 year stuff, and both fit into that category. And frankly, we're looking now for AI applications that might not have been recognized yet. I think I'm on the board of Memorial Sloan Kettering, have been for almost 30 years, and the applications in cancer are unreal.
He was talking about selling Nvidia there. He did a public interview where he said it was expensive and that he'd sold out most of it and then he sold out all of it. But he was in it for a long time. If it's a bubble, then he did get out, what did he say, 800 or 900. I mean, it's gone past that, but not so much. He still did very well out of it. So being a little bit modest again.
Matt, you mentioned the concept of buy first, analyze later. Tell me about that.
Yeah, Soros used to call it invest and then investigate.
He worked for Soros, learned from Soros.
I think I just gave a classic example. I didn't know that much about Nvidia. I just knew that AI, and I had some people here tell me how to play it. So we bought Nvidia, and then we were in the process of doing a lot more work, and then ChatGPT happened. But I've always had the view that markets are smart, they're fast, and they're getting much more so with all the communication and the technology we have today. And that if I hear a concept and I like it, if I wait and spend 2 or 3 months analyzing it, I may miss a big part of the move and then psychologically be paralyzed. It's hard to buy a stock you're looking at 100. It's 160, even if it's going to 400. Somehow your head is screwed up and you're waiting for the pullback.
I think a lot of us have been in that position where we've bought something maybe a little bit, expecting to buy it in stages perhaps, and then it just runs away, and then you don't want to buy it because it's gone up way too much. You have a price that you think it's a good price.
So we will buy something, a meaningful position, but not earth-shaking, and then really do the work. And if I think we made a mistake, I'll sell it. And if I don't think we made a mistake, we'll add to it if we have to. I have found it's very important never to invest in the present. Always try and envision the situation as you see it in 18 to 24 months, and then see if you feel things would be differently than they are now, would security prices reflect that? I think that's probably the biggest mistake investors make, is they invest in the present rather than forward looking and looking where the puck's going instead of where the puck is.
That's a really good point there. Skating to where the puck is going rather than where it is now. Looking ahead, that's what we're trying to do as investors, is predict the future, which is really difficult to do. But what he's saying there is really good. I think it's often said about, skate to where the puck is going. But as he said, a lot of people make mistakes. A lot of investors, the biggest mistake is not thinking ahead there. And for AI and tech, it's definitely would be important. By the way, if you're getting value out of this episode, I'd really appreciate it if you manage to hit that like button to help the algorithm to spread it to more people. And do subscribe here if you want more of this kind of content in the future. Thanks.
You mentioned some examples of where you had sold a bit early. Do you generally sell early?
No, I mean, embarrassingly, I did an interview on Nvidia. I think it was like 370 or something. And I said, this is one we're probably going to own for a few years. But I didn't think it was going to go to 900 in a year and to over a $2 trillion market cap. I think it just started like 100 billion or 150 billion. It was something crazy. So no, I don't necessarily sell early. I'm a technician, so I usually wait for tops. Nvidia had no top. I just thought...
what does that, just want to explain, what does it mean to have a top?
A top is something, the rate of change of it's going up changes and it tends to flatten out for quite some time. The trick is, in the technical world, that could end up being a bull flag, where it just consolidated for a bit and then it did a new leg, or it could be a top where that was it.
And how do you know which is which?
You don't. You have an opinion and you express it, and sometimes you're right and sometimes you're wrong. With Nvidia, there was no top, but I've analyzed the semiconductors industry, not particularly well, but since the 1970s, and it's a cyclical industry. And I knew Nvidia had staying power and they had 4,000 software engineers, so it wasn't just hardware. They have a CUDA, this thing.
So he's talking about technicals there. He is a technical investor and fundamental and macro. He does a lot. Takes, juggling all these balls in the air at the same time, or, from the bottom up, but looking at the macro environment. Not many investors can do what he does. He's quite a trader, can be in and out.
Called CUDA software that they do to make their GPUs. But I just thought once it went through 2 trillion, this is just too much. And worst case, it'll have a big correction. I'll get another chance. And of course, I didn't get another chance.
Oh, you may.
Yes, I may.
You think you will?
I don't know from this price. I assume I will, or I would have bought it back. I don't mind buying something back higher than I would. I don't like it, but I'm perfectly willing to buy something back higher than I sold it.
Some people can't get themselves to do it.
Oh, I can. The one thing I'm strong on is I'm not emotional.
It is tough to do buying things at a higher price, and he's talking about riding the bubble here of AI, of Nvidia. He thought it got way too expensive at $2 trillion market cap. If it goes down, he's not afraid to buy it back. As I said, he had a lot of experience in the dot-com bubble, buying nearly at the top, having sold out and then bought back. FOMO got the better of him, even this great investor who's never had a negative return. So what do you think of this? Do you think that people will get another crack at Nvidia? Will it burst and go way down? It's really hard to know. He's one of the best and he doesn't really know. He's just waiting for the signals that he sees. So let me know what you think about that in the comments. And on screen now, if you're watching on YouTube, I'm going to put a link to a video that's related to this one about AI, and also a subscribe link. Do subscribe if you want to see more of this kind of content in the future. And thanks to everybody for watching this one, and I'll see you in the next one.